Hello, everyone. Let's wait for a minute or so, then we will get started. All right, let's get started. Hi, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join this session. Our webinar today, Operational Threat Intel Wins with OpenCTI and UniqueSignal. So I'm Artu. I'm doing product marketing at VMRay. I will host today's session. I'm joined by Paul Bowen from Filigran, OpenCTI. He has decades of industry experience, and we are happy to have him as a guest today. Hi, Paul.
Greetings. Welcome, everybody.
And also, I'm joined by my colleague, Fatih Akar. He's a senior security product manager at VMRay, leading our threat intel product initiatives, including specifically UniqueSignal. And after many years of building detection and sandbox technology, so right now his focus is more on the threat intel part. Hi, Fatih.
Hello, thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome, by the way.
So, by the way, it's great. We missed yesterday's AWS US East 1 outage, and Zoom seems to be intact. And fingers crossed, it's going to be like this throughout the session. That's amazing. And today, our focus is about mostly outcomes. We will keep mechanics light. The focus is mainly what you can actually do with VMRay's new threat intel feed, UniqueSignal, inside Filigran's OpenCTI, a very well-known, commonly used threat intel platform out there. And upfront, if you use OpenCTI, you can request and get a 60-day trial of UniqueSignal right away. So don't take our word for it. Ingest it right after the session if you want to. And just write some housekeeping items. Session is recorded. Slides and recording will be shared. You can drop questions in the chat anytime. So we will save some time at the end to cover as many as we can. So let's start with really a quick map of what VMRay ships today. So then Fatih will tell the UniqueSignal story. So deep response for especially the DFIR and malware analysts to get full sandbox depth, for example, full behavior of the malware, live interaction. So it is really used when you need to see and explain the full capability scope. And final verdict, especially for modern SOC workflows, automation-heavy workflows, when there is high volume samples via API or integrations via EDR, SOAR, email gateway, if you have workflow around that, it's really used when you need fast and yes or no decisions, like if it is malicious or no. So you gotta know it to run the playbooks. And total insight, especially for teams that want both scale and depth. So, especially the teams who would like to create their own intelligence using the threats that's targeting their organization. So high volume submissions, analysis detail, best of both worlds available. And some customers also build their own internal VirusTotal with it. So next, really the UniqueSignal, that's the focus today. Our newest edition, a standalone malware intelligence feed. And right now, why UniqueSignal, how it came to be, exist, I will pass it on to my colleague Fatih to speak about it.
Thank you very much for the great introduction, Arturo. Yeah, the UniqueSignal product is a new addition to our existing portfolio. We have now 4 products in our existing portfolio, and 3 of them was dedicated for threat analysis and detection. And the 4th one, the UniqueSignal, which is the subject of today, from the VMRay side, is the standalone threat intelligence suite product. And the idea came, after we were just deep diving into the use cases of our existing portfolio of products, where we identified, I've been knowing that our product was being used for incident response scenarios where the incident responders or malware analysts are, doing ad hoc malware submissions through the user interface. Pretty much, low volume but high, volume of data report detail is needed. And in another, use case, we know that customers are actually using us for alert generation, alert enrichment after integrating through their EDR and SOAR. And there's abuse mailbox kind of use case that is already supported by the VMRay platform as well. You forward your email and VMRay automatically analyzes it, strips out all of the artifacts, URLs and files from it, and just analyzes and sends back to you the results. And there was also another particularly interesting use case, which we call threat intelligence generation. And it has been done by a small set of customers in our entire customer portfolio. It's a pretty advanced power user use case where the customers seem to be gathering a lot of samples from the wild or from their own network and detonating everything in VMRay platform and automatically extracting all of the information from the VMRay's reports and utilizing it in various places to generate their own threat intelligence and use it somewhere else in other security products. And we were really interested to talk to these customers. And once we scheduled calls with them to ask, why are you not going ahead and buying a commercial feed instead of going through all of these hassle, trying to keep this process or workflow up and running for a really high volume of submissions? They all responded in a common theme of answers where they said, oh, we have a couple of commercial feeds. We did this on top of it because we know that it's filling the gaps. We control the input samples. That means, therefore, we control the output of intelligence, and we know it's filling the gaps, and it doesn't produce that much false positives. And and we can share this data with many places, many different information sharing groups. And since this was a common answer from multiple different customers that didn't know each other, that were utilizing the VMRay platform for the same use case, we said, okay, we know the product the best because we built it. Why don't we help the rest of the customers who cannot have this prioritization of going through such a hassle and maybe not have the skill set or the manpower to go through and build such a scenario? And let's kick this off. We kick this project off, and then we started to have our partnerships being in place and collected samples and created a lot of processes to curate the data that we deliver. And after a successful alpha and beta stages where more than 50 customers attended and provided feedback, we now have a generally available product that was launched as the beginning of July this year and is available for customers to see and use for their own purposes. At the end, UniqueSignal is continuously updated malware threat intelligence data in a structured manner where we have the sticks and also MISP and some other delivery formats like JSON and CSV. And hope this was clear so far on the story of UniqueSignal. And yeah, I can pass it back to you, Arturo.
Amazing, thank you. I always like the product stories, and there are definitely some learnings throughout the, as you mentioned, alpha beta stages. And actually, I would like to go ahead and talk a bit about the pain we heard in dozens of interviews we made during alpha beta stages. And it was really different orgs, same teams we heard. And the first one is actually the atomic IOCs without context. So there are IPs, a list of domains, but without really who, why, how. I mean, this kind of critical information missing. So the labels missing or inconsistent. And it's really hard to decide for CTI analysts to either block or hunt for this or maybe ignore at the end of the day. So it was kind of one of the pain points. And next, delayed intel. So the intelligence lands after the campaign already moved. And we know that, you know, and the customer also observed that the malware infra flips really fast. They are switching really fast, and IOCs can age out. And useful window to make use of this IOCs is really short. So the next one, the around open source intelligence, which is kind of common. The rehashing of publicly available intelligence information and multiple feeds watching the same public lists. And, you know, we are a fan of community. Community is great. We have our thread feed portal as well that we are sharing analysis reports publicly. But the thing is and some vendors also monitor there as well, but the application isn't good, you know. So another one, the heavy effort around curation that's needed because the feed arriving to the you know, the CTI is actually not automation friendly. So you gotta enrich, you gotta stitch some more context around it. And that's not really intel, that's raw data. I'm speaking from the, you know, what we heard actually. And most CTI teams really don't have spare cycles, so they want really playbooks and automation. Also, Paul is gonna go through us how it's gonna it can be done via OpenCTI as well. And the last one, the high volume, low quality. We heard this a lot. So that's kind of causing ingestion issues and also alert spam. So volume is really not equal to value. You pay in pipeline cost and analyst time. So when you want to ingest everything, so ultimately the ROI from such an investment is kind of decreasing. So from all these actual learnings and takeaways, here is what we focused to hit those marks. And I'm not gonna go through all in detail because I'm sure Paul and Fatih will be mentioning many of these, but the context, uniqueness, timeliness, and automation readiness. So these were kind of the core principles as we built UniqueSignal that is kind of our North Star. And just one highlight from here, measuring the uniqueness and timeliness is really hard to claim, but actually easy to test. And I will show that on the next couple of slides, how we did it. We use an independent third party to benchmark uniqueness and time to first seen. It's run by Tikura. They track actually first seen and source overlap across over thousands of feeds. And why it matters? Because high uniqueness, and actually this is something we regularly measure, so it's not just one-time measurement. This means minimal duplicate noise, and it can coexist with your existing feeds. You know, a UniqueSignal can coexist with your existing investments. And that also means the intel you can trust for blocking, not just, you know, not just enrichment and detection. And also high fidelity means no false positive explosion in the SOC. So also timeliness is strong, and it's good because earlier coverage on fast moving malware campaigns and malware infra, you know, is always good. And we also found some real DFIR cases. No need to go into detail now, but What you see here, left VirusTotal screenshot, 0 detections at the time, and right Tikura's dashboard, the UniqueSignal first seen on this hash at least 2 weeks earlier than the incident report window, as well as seems as the only source until the report is published. I'm also dropping here the link if you want to take a look at this incident report from NCC Group around Lumma info stealer. So to prove timeliness is tricky, but here is our best try. So that I just wanted to share with you. We said this webinar will not be about mechanics, but a bit around it, so we can visualize what's going on. So VMRay's evasion resistant sandbox, as Fatih mentioned in the product story, is a huge differentiator here. So we have multiple sources for samples, as well as a good process to triage the most relevant ones out, all go into the sandbox that allows us to see the full behavior and extract IOCs, which is kind of also boosting the uniqueness that we kind of had chance to validate with the previous DFIR case. But that's not the end. Before delivering it to operate, for operationalization to OpenCTI, it goes through false positive checks, enrichment labeling, and context linking, especially for sticks, the relationship objects and all that. So with that flow in mind, first, right now, I will pass it on to Paul to show really what lands on that front, and he's going to walk us through the capabilities of OpenCTI as well as the use cases and playbooks. So please, take it away, Paul.
Great. So I'm going to replace your share and take over.
Yeah, feel free.
And let's go right here to my window. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can, Paul.
Great. And I wish I could minimize that, but it doesn't seem to want to go away. Oh, there it is. Excellent. So just a minute or two about OpenCTI architecture. So I'm sure people are familiar with what we are. If not, we're a TIP, a threat intelligence platform. We want to centralize all your data with the best feeds and then even improve those feeds to make them more actionable for you automatically. So one of the things that we do is we offer ourselves an on-prem or in the cloud or bring your own cloud. We started as an open source project for the French Ministry of Defense. Our CEO was their senior analyst, and he found that he needed a tool to correlate and improve his threat intelligence. So he built OpenCTI with a couple of other people, and we currently have 6,000 users globally of our open source project and hundreds of customers also globally of our enterprise version. What we're looking at here is our enterprise version. VMRay is one of our premier partners, and they make things very easy for us because they put everything out in the Stix taxi format. So we don't need a custom connector or anything to bring their data right into the system. And we can take their data and do a lot of good things with it. And the first thing we're going to talk about is priority intelligence requests. And we can create priority intelligence requests in OpenCTI so that you can say, I want to focus on a particular vertical. If I say create a PIR, and I'll give it a name, and I always just use my initials. So because this instance is shared, and I'll say I want to go to next, and then I can target locations, and I can target industries. So I could say that this is aerospace and defense, and I can say that this is aerospace manufacturing, and I can create a PIR just for that industry in that location. Now I'm going to go look at my other PIR so you can get an idea of what type of data we generate. And as you can see here, this is just this very simple PIR that I created for technology. And it shows me all the news feeds about technology in the United States. It shows me who's feeding me data. It talks about intrusion sets, so the tool sets being used. And we have a confidence of greater than 60. So what that means is I'm not going to see any data where VMRay hasn't tagged this as they're more than 60% confident inside of OpenCTI. I'll get to see the threats. Again, the intrusion sets and the different people who've reported it. I'll get analysis showing me the relationships. So when you have a priority intelligence request, and it's a demo system, sometimes it's a little sluggish, but we're going to produce all the reports that are related to your filters. So your request will immediately provide you with where you need to look to see the data. And as you can see in this demo system, I have a lot of different people feeding me data. And I also get some activities. And we'll see relationships that are being added to Stix IDs and everything that you need to quickly create. And I ran this back for 180 days, and I have 210 pages of relationships. So we'll see all the different MITRE tactics and techniques that came in from the Stix feed right in one place. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about was priority intelligence requests. I also wanted to talk about the fact that in our enterprise version, which is what we're looking at, you don't get priority intelligence requests in our community version, but that one's free forever. So you can use this for other consolidation of events and alerts. We also offer 3 different ways to use our AI engine. And I'd like to talk about those first with reports. And if you go into any of our reports, we'll just grab this one from Alien Vault, you can say, I want to create a report, and the system will use AI to write the report for you. You can select the tone of the report. We'll say that this is operational. You can select the number of paragraphs, and you can also select one of many different languages to write the report in. And the AI will then write the report for you right from here. When I click generate, it's going to go out and write me a 5-paragraph report of an operational threat from the report that was generated by the system. It'll take it a minute to come up. And once it comes up, you'll get to see everything you need, and you can add to the report and you can delete from the report. And then you can, once the report is finished, you can email it to the appropriate people, or you can set up a playbook to automatically email it to 20 people. And of course, because it's a demo, it's not writing it for me. Let's try this one more time. So we'll say generate a report. We'll ask for strategic, and we'll ask for just 3 paragraphs, and hopefully the demo system will, there we go. It finished the other report when I left, great. But the idea is that it writes the report for you, and that's one of the many uses that we have in AI. We also have a chatbot, and I'm not gonna worry about this right now. We'll have our chatbot where you can ask about different campaigns if you're unfamiliar, if when VMRay points out something you need to worry about in the Stix taxi feed we're ingesting, you can actually ask it and say, what is, my typing is terrible today, Salt Typhoon, and it'll generate a report on the Salt Typhoon for you so that you don't have to worry, I don't know what it is, it's a new attack, I can ask the system. And as long as any of the feeds that we're bringing in have information about that particular threat, it'll automatically answer you in the chatbot. And the final thing I want to show is many systems, I worked at Anomaly, I worked at Sumo, I've worked at many different companies throughout my career. All of them have their own query language, and you have to learn the query language. In Sumo, we called it SQL, Sumo Query Languages, even though it wasn't SQL. You have to first learn that language. Well, here, you don't have to do that with Filigran. You can say, show me IP addresses from China. It's implied that it's a threat. It's not just going to show you every IP address. And you ask the AI, and what it's going to do is go out and not only generate the results, but it's going to show you the query language that you need to learn in order to query our GraphQL API. So now you know that if you wanted to see that, you could say entity type equals IP4 and in regards of located in China. And then you can see who authored the threat, who else added info to the threat, and it's all shown for you right here. And that's the 3 things about AI that I'd like to talk about. And I know it's hard to stop and say, are there any questions? But please, if you are putting questions in the chat, someone let me know. And then the next thing I wanted to talk about was our playbooks. And our playbooks are a way to automate things for you. So when we go to processing, you see that we have playbooks. And in these playbooks, it allows you to, and let me zoom in, I know it's really hard to see, but here I'm saying, I want something from VMRay high confidence. So I have a filter that says it must be created by VMRay and it must have a confidence greater than 70. Great. Now I'm going to manipulate this knowledge. And what that means is I'm going to label the knowledge, that it's an indicator type, and I'm going to label it with which type of attack it is. So as I'm going through and getting these threats from VMRay, I quickly add to them. And then I can say, all right, I'm going to also just double check if anybody else knows about this threat. And I'm going to check if anybody else knows about this threat. And I could have 5 or 6 different pathways down here. If you have 3 free feeds that you really like and you have the VMRay feed, well, we're already getting the data from that. That started this playbook. And then I can send it to a notifier, someone I have to notify. And I always want to send it to the system for ingestion. Now, by default, we have a rule that says if we come down here to settings and we go to customization, we have a rules engine that is automatically going to send this to MS Sentinel if it's above a score of 80 in the confidence. And the confidence is derived by who is the author of the threat and how much do we trust them and what do they say the threat is. And we're running it through that playbook to clean it up even more to make sure that it matches. So we have this set up rules so that you can easily say, okay, automatically send this to MS Sentinel. And we also have decay rules so that if a thread is over 90 days old, we automatically degrade it and eventually run it right out of the system. A lot of tips will just keep gathering data and never getting rid of it. And I just want to show that right down here in data sharing, we're disseminating data to Sentinel right here, but it has to have a score of greater than 80. So it's already set up. It's automatically going to get that information. Plus, we're going to send the admin of the threat intelligence that will send them an email with a report in it that says, hey, these X amount of threats have a score greater than 80. And this is what I call, excuse me, the beat cop and the detective. And I know that's an analogy that works best in America, but the idea is when there's a crime, there's a lot of police officers who interview everybody around the crime scene. And then there's a detective who decides which people to interview again. Well, our playbooks do the same thing. Yes, VMRay, which was a trusted source, said this is a threat. We're going to run it through a few other people. That's all the beat cops doing the work. And then we're going to forward the alert to the detective, your threat analyst, so that they know they can take action. And let's see. The last thing I want to talk about was the fact that if we have a report, and in this report we find a current threat that we want to worry about, we can say simulate this threat. And when I say simulate this threat, it's going to open our adversarial enterprise system. And what this does is allows you to simulate attacks against your own environment. So if you find that this report is credible and you want to look into this threat, you can click the simulate button. It will automatically take you here. It will build the scenario for you. It will allow you to select the assets that you want to execute the scenario against, and either using our OpenBAS agent, breach attack simulation, or if you have Tanium or CrowdStrike or another agent, it'll piggyback on those agents to run an attack scenario against your environment. And when you come back here, you'll get this dashboard, and it'll tell you how much prevention, nothing was presented, how much was detected, and how much is vulnerable right here. And then you can drill into each and every one of these scenarios, or you can build your own scenarios instead of going from a report and say, I want to create a simulation. And you can put in the attack categories, the descriptions, the tags, everything you need to do to simulate an attack against the assets that you select in your environment. So that's a second way you can create an attack. And the third way that you can create an attack is you can come right here into the hub.filigran.io, and you can come here and say, I want to use one of the OpenBAS scenarios that you built. And you can execute these scenarios against yourself. And aside from executing scenarios, you can come in here. You can go to the Filigran Academy. The first class is free. You can look at all our documentation. You can look at our integration feeds, and you can download custom dashboards, which is what Fatih is going to show you, a custom dashboard that he built. I know I did a lot of talking for 14 minutes or so. Is there anything I didn't cover that you wanted me to cover too, or Fatih?
Yeah, Paul, actually, I see one question
Oh, please.
So it's around, I think, role-based access control.
Absolutely.
For a global company, can I limit content to users in a certain country? So does OpenCTI have RBAC?
OpenCTI has full RBAC. Not only can you limit it to groups or to users, but you can create organizations in the country of question, and you can assign roles to those organizations. So anybody you put into the specific group that can go to this organization, 100% is available. But that, just so you know, that's only in the enterprise version. The RBAC in the free version is not quite as comprehensive. It doesn't have the organizations, but you can create a user and assign them only certain feeds and only certain assets. It's just a little more complex without organizations, but organizations makes it quite simple. And again, you can go to filigran.io and download the open source version. It runs on Docker. You only need, like 8 gigs of RAM on a 2-core system. I have it running in AWS. I actually have it running on a Raspberry Pi, but you can run it on just about anything. It's all Docker based, and you can do it in our cloud, your cloud, or on-prem. We don't care how you do it.
That's great. So, yeah, we may come back to you, Paul. That's what we'll present next.
I'll stop my share then. You stopped it for me. Thank you.
Yeah, stopped it for you. And by the way, I like the analogy around the crime scene and detectives. That's awesome. Let's make it easier to understand how we look at these tools. And a quick note also from me, the OpenCTI community is doing real work for the global CTI ecosystem. I mean, the connectors, the documentation, and the free community edition. I think that's great, and it has been a solid, in my opinion, foundation for many organizations starting their CTI journey. So
absolutely, we have almost 7,000 customers, and the project was started 10 years ago. So the free version is generally how everybody gets started. We don't have a lot of people who start with the paid version. Everybody starts with the free version, and then they need the playbooks and they need other stuff, so they upgrade to the paid version.
Yeah, amazing.
And we encourage that. We're not trying to sell you on day one. We're trying to say, hey, go use it.
Yeah, see it yourself, try it yourself, definitely. And so sorry for that. I mixed the slides. Yeah, now I'm gonna pass it on to Fatih. So he's gonna show how the unique signal context can be visualized in OpenCTI dashboard. I know, Paul, you left it to us. So yeah, Fatih, please take it away.
Thank you, Arturo, and thank you for the great presentation and the demo, Paul. It was fantastic.
Thanks.
So
Sorry for
let
the
me share my
rush. I
screen.
want to give you guys time.
Hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, Fatih, we see yours.
So here we are looking at a dashboard in OpenCTI, which is a custom dashboard I created myself, as Paul said, and it is OpenCTI has fantastic capabilities to ingest, process, and visualize a structured data, which in this case is completely STIX 2.1. In the past, we have tried to integrate with many security products out there that are claiming to have a STIX 2.1 support, only to find out they're only parsing a particular fields like indicator objects and ignoring the rest of it. But here in this view, you can see how how thorough the parsing support and visualization support from OpenCTI is. UniqueSignal is, again, just to recap, is a malware threat intelligence feed product where we're at this point only focusing on the data quality and the structure of it. And we are continuously delivering threat intel data that is relevant to what we see in the wild. And you can see that in the last 7 days, we shipped around 3,500 analysis reports and probably around 500 a day. And we have 3,000 indicators per day. That has, you know, double the amount of relationship objects, which is really important for you to, you know, to enable you to have these smooth transitions from different objects and pivot around so that you can have a better investigation workflows. And we also have almost half of the indicators with its malware family classification, so that you would not only see an indicator, but you will see which malware family does it belong to. And in some cases, we are lucky enough to understand which threat actor group that this particular indicator could be attributed to. And in this case, in the last 7 days, we were able to ship indicators that are relevant to APT28, WinTI group, and Turla. And it's, of course, depending on the malware families that were like more frequent at that particular point in time, this visualization will also change. But on the top right-hand side, there is a really important graphic or visualization where you see different kill chains that are directly tied to our MITRE ATT&CK technique ID mappings that are generated in the VMRay's analysis reports. You see the most frequent kill chain is the defense evasion, and that it speaks for itself. We have been, you know, very vocal about our evasion resistance on the VMRay platform side, where we do the analysis. Based on our hypervisor-based sandbox, we are not able to be detected by the malware itself like the rest of the competitors are. And this just gives us so much visibility into a threat at hand. And if we were evaded, as you can see how frequently these behaviors are seen in the wild, if you are evaded by a malware threat, then not only you would miss that behavior that did the evasion, probably you would miss all of the behavior that will come after that stage of attack. That means you not only have the defense evasion, you know, kill chain being affected by it, but all the rest of the kill chains and tactics and all the techniques that was supposed to be seen in an analysis environment is not going to be visible for you. So you would lose a lot of data out of these analysis, and you would lose some important indicators that will facilitate you to have a better threat hunting, better detection engineering, or whatever you want to use that piece of information in whichever use case. It will, you know, create a lot more problems for you to not have this data. But in VMRay platform, because of our focus to evasion resistancy, this is not a problem that we observe, and it's also is, you know, proving itself with this dashboard. We have ups and downs in the analysis reports and indicators that we ship, but overall we try to keep it steady in terms of malware, malwares, any particular malware family's share in the end product, meaning that we are trying to protect to a malware family to not take over the entire UniqueSignal feed because it was observed to be having some, you know, polymorphic features in it that generates a lot of different files when they are active. Of course, we are tracking only the relevant and active malware threats that are seen in the wild. And yeah, you can see the Floxif, KR Banker, and, you know, Formbook. It's the visualization cut it in half here, but it's the Formbook malware family. And there's also different malware families like XRED, XMRig, which is again still popular to be used for, you know, mining operations. And yeah, all kinds of different malware families that we observed in that particular period of time in the chat landscape will be delivered to UniqueSignal customers. And again, the contextual problem that we've kept hearing in the alpha and beta stages of this product from the customers, we wanted to enrich our data that is generated through automated analysis as much as we could. So we not only put the behavioral information over there, as you can see in the word cloud here, where we not only have the threat names, but also the target industry and the multi-attack technique IDs that were observed more frequently, and also all the behavioral information and malware family information. But also, we try to put even more context into this data that we ship with the targeted countries objects. So we not only do the enrichment or geographical IP lookup of where this particular IP IOC is located, but we also try to do some enrichment through the domain name objects that is delivered through UniqueSignal, and we try to understand which countries are trying to resolve that domain. So that means it's a high indication of that country is being targeted. So in this case, you see there's too much sightings objects here and the telemetry objects. The USA is the most frequently seen country, followed by Germany. And yeah, it already speaks for itself on the targeted threats. But yeah, basically, overall, we have different type of objects that are native to sticks. We ship indicator objects, report objects, country objects, and some malware objects, and each will be related to each other through the relationship objects. In a couple of minutes, you will understand the value of the relationship objects as well, so that you would request it from the vendors that you're.
I think just to
yeah.
interrupt, I think there's a related question around the relationship objects. I don't know if you see the question, but I will do my best to read out. Are you creating reports and sending them with malware objects as two related sticks objects to OpenCTI with other indicator objects related to it? Or are you sharing the feeds and leaving it to OpenCTI to generate the reports? I think the first one, right?
The first one is the correct one.
Yeah,
we basically ship malware objects and indicator objects, and we also ship observable objects. We do ship the relationship objects to tie the indicator to that particular malware family. And you will see from that malware family, you would be able to pivot to different indicators from different reports, because OpenCTI is doing a pretty good job on just allowing you to jump from one object type to another one, so that you can, get a whole story with just one piece of indicator. You would get a full understanding of what it's targeting, what it's doing, what's the behavior of it, if you have the data. And UniqueSignal is solely focused on providing that data for you.
Right. And one other thing around the victimology, I mean, the victim industries, I think that's also something Paul mentioned while on the playbooks. So the playbook is starting like, if I see it, if there's a threat targeting my industry, then run this playbook. I think that's the starting point for that playbook, right?
Yeah,
Paul,
you need a trigger event in the playbook. And once that threshold is met, whatever it's confidence above 75, targeting a particular industry, using a particular MITRE tactic or technique, whatever the starting point is, we then can do enrichment, take action, send emails, create containers, send reports, all of those different things as part of the playbook.
Right. But you can go ahead with other.
Great. Yeah, I was just wrapping up the dashboard review. Basically, this custom dashboard is exportable. We can deliver it to you if you want it. And the thing is, in this dashboard, the only data that you're seeing is directly from UniqueSignal. So you will be able to also drill down to some of these indicators, just like in other views. we have the countries that we've mentioned or earlier, and these country objects, these basically the sightings and telemetry objects, are related to other report objects through these relationship objects, right? So basically, if you just click on one of them, we will see the data coming from UniqueSignal as the report object has multiple indicators with different countries that it is targeting, right? So we can actually go ahead and see one of these indicators that was observed in this report. Again, there's one indicator that is a domain name, and yeah, it was a network connection, and we basically scored it a 60 out of 100, but we know that it is actively targeting United States. And just to go through maybe more interesting report where we have multiple different object types, here in this particular analysis report, we have a lot of different labels to see the context that we're delivering through a single report object. We were able to put the malware family name, and also it just performs a DNS request for known DDNS domains, right? It does defense evasion, and with its micro-attack technique ID mappings, as well as some other behaviors that was seem to be happening in this analysis period, are all going to be delivered to you. So when you have an indicator, you wouldn't be just a vendor saying you, hey, this IP address or this hash is malicious, but also will get the entire story behind why it was considered to be malicious in the first place. And in this report, we have the country objects and indicator objects. And again, to the question that just came recently, we have also the malware objects. And in here, you see that it's directly related to this malware object. And if you want to, see all the other objects that are related to this, you can actually go ahead and take a look to see what other report objects are actually referencing this malware family, and see more indicators that are relevant for your investigation. So just coming back to see different indicators here, we have many different countries that this particular report was having a relationship to, but there is one particular indicator object which is related to a file, and doing all kinds of different techniques, does OS credential dumping, and it tries to collect some data automatically from the system that is trying to infect, and it reads a significant portion of the browser memory. And here you can see a human readable version of what we think about this particular indicator, not only with one type of hash, but different type of hashes will be also delivered, like MD5 and SSD, so that you can, when you have this indicator, you can pivot to the report and continue seeing all kinds of other objects. So if I can only yeah, so here's another report where we have the indicator objects again, with a lot of different behavior that are known to be malicious. It's an injector as a threat type, right? It uses exploits, and it's directly classified as REMCOS malware family. Tries to write into the memory of another process, exploits vulnerability in Microsoft Office, and it tries to connect to an uncommon port. So you have everything you need in this indicator to understand something is definitely wrong. And if you have a match on any of the entities that was observed under this report, like malware hash or the IP address, you would know that it is particularly interesting with the behaviors that was observed by VMRay in this. And basically, that is the extent of my demonstration of UniqueSignal through OpenCTI platform. Hopefully, it was clear for you what UniqueSignal is delivering and how you can pivot and utilize this data in the OpenCTI platform. And thank you very much.
Amazing, Fatih. Thank you so much, and thank you, Paul, for helping me out answering the questions in parallel. So I think it was a great demo. We will just yeah, thanks, Fatih, again. The operational wins, that was the focus. We see again how nice it is to have context on top of atomic, IOCs. And by context, we meant the labels around the target industry, the labels around the malware family. And for example, if there's a campaign around Luma, the info stealers, you can directly, not only IOCs, but also the behavior of Luma, the changes in their behavior and in their evasion tactics, all that context you can get. So around the enrichment, I think there were a couple of questions. Especially there was a confusion around the VMRay UniqueSignal and the other products of VMRay and OpenCTI connector. I think we were able to make it clear that UniqueSignal is kind of a standalone product of VMRay, separate from the existing sandbox and the products, other product families. But yeah, and now on top of that, while talking about the context, it was great to see that also the trends and the clues around the threat landscape, right, Fatih? So this is not only the dashboard you shared. It's not just individual context, but overall it gives you the big picture via OpenCTI, and I think that's amazing. That's something to have for if you're a CTI analyst. So that brings us to the end of today's session. We already were able to answer some questions. Like before, I will give you a couple of minutes. If you would like to type more questions, just feel free. But again, for OpenCTI users, I would recommend grab the 60-day free trial of UniqueSignal ingest right after the session. Also, you can check our community thread feed portal to browse recent dynamic analysis reports and see the style of context we produced via sandboxing. And there's one question actually I would like to ask to Paul. Is there a way to push indicators to EDRs like SentinelOne or Microsoft Defender? Is it
sorry, go ahead,
again via playbooks? Yeah, go ahead.
You can do it via playbooks or you can do it via rules. We have two ways to do it. In fact, in the integration I showed, we have a rule set up to send it to MS Sentinel. If it's above 80 in confidence, it automatically goes there. So absolutely, it's part of our automation.
Cool. And another one, so Fatih, I think it's for you. What's in scope family-wise? So where do and where do you find the samples? So I think we mentioned that, but it would be good to highlight again.
Well, we try to analyze everything we could find in terms of relevant and recently seen malware. We have some partnerships with some other TI vendors, and we have access to their honeypots and spam traps. And we also do continuous research through our labs team, and we try to get the interesting samples detonated to the VMRay platform and create this intelligence reports and deliver them under the UniqueSignal name. And for the malware families that are supported, it is ever changing because we do the same work from a singular place with a singleton approach, right? We have the labs team that are constantly writing the classification rules for the malware families, and they happen to have been shipping around 10 new malware family classifications per month. And so the support is increasing, and they are already doing this work for the VMRay platform to increase the efficacy and the classification work that we do for VMRay platform. And we are utilizing the same work that we do over there under the UniqueSignal's name. So we have hundreds of malware families that are supported, and the list is growing. And same goes for the malware configuration extraction. That list is also growing because we have to write custom parsers and coding for every single malware family. But yeah, it's a continuous effort, I would say.
Amazing. All right, I think that takes us to the end of the session. Thanks everybody for joining this one, and thanks to Paul and Fatih. Amazing.
Thank you for having us.
So we'll send the recording and slides. So have a good one, and hope to see you next time.
Thank you.